my name is Niyi Fagbemi. I'm a travel and documentary filmmaker. It's very important for we as Africans and we as Nigerians to tell our own stories in the best way possible. There's a lot of untapped potential in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole, and I wish and I feel that we need to tell our own stories more.
Amazing. You spoke a lot about Africa. You must really enjoy doing your work and project within the states of Africa. So can you tell us, like, what's the biggest project you've done in Africa?
Okay, so I think maybe there's two ways I can answer that question, right? So in terms of the biggest I've done, in terms of volume, I'll go to that in the second part. But let me start with my biggest work so far. So it was on a festival here in Nigeria. It's called the Ojude Oba Festival.
Oh, yeah.
Although it didn't take me so much to do, I think that's actually the work that has gone far the most. I mean, it's gotten so viral. I think when I did the metrics, it was around 100 million views in across all platforms and engagements and whatnot. So it went really far. So I can say that is my biggest work so far in terms of reach. But in terms of like the volume of work that I do, so I do documentaries. I mean, I've done documentaries within Nigeria, within Africa. So yeah.
Yeah, I could see that a lot of people, whenever it comes to all these festivals, they're always waiting for you to drop your content and all of that. And you have a lot of followers and all that. And one thing that triggers actually very interesting. You are an engineer as well. So what made you to go into the line of documentary filmmaking?
Okay, so I think maybe it's actually an interesting story. So I didn't go into photography and filmmaking by choice initially. It was more or less by circumstance. So when I finished from university in 2017, I had the option to either choose between engineering or photography. And I ended up choosing engineering because that's what I studied in school, and I didn't necessarily know how to make money from photography. So 2 years down the line in the engineering space, I mean, I got a good job in ExxonMobil. So I was
Okay.
working, I mean, for like 2 years. Then once the oil prices hit, to cut the long story short, I mean, first batch of my team was laid off earlier in the year. Then later in the year, I just got a call from my manager and my general manager and said, "Well, sorry, we have to let you go." Even though I was a high-performing employee, they just had to let me go. I just had to pick myself up. Then I had to like think that what else can I do and what else can I actually do with my hands. And after even working so hard in ExxonMobil, to see that I was let go, I wasn't going to go put myself in that same situation where I work for someone and I cannot not necessarily control my own future. So I decided to actually pursue photography and like filmmaking space because I knew that it's something I could control, even though I did not necessarily know how to make money from it then, but it was just something that I just started and I kept on doing. So from experience, I worked under someone for a little while, then I got a lot of experience in the field, then I started charging small, small, small. So from there, I mean, it's just been a great journey so far.
Definitely would love to know when you started the whole photography because you have a whole lot of experience in it.
Yeah.
Like what year did you
Okay,
kickstart your
so
project?
I mean, I think I finished university in 2017.
Okay.
So just to also mention, I was actually still taking pictures in university, but this was as a hobby. So I was taking pictures of
Oh,
my sister, and I don't think I was like the best then, but I was still trying my best. You
but
get so
professionally.
professionally, I actually started out in 2019. You get
Okay.
so. I think my first ever job was with a. I mean, I'm not going to mention names, but it was with a lady here. We were commissioned to do both photos and videos. I think I can write very clearly. 25,000 naira. Till today, I haven't still been paid, so that's why I can remember. So yeah, so that's pretty much how my journey started. So from there, I mean, it's been great ever since. So yeah.
That's really nice. That's really inspiring. So, we get to see the fine pictures, the fine videos, and all that, and you're like, wow, I know that. But we don't really know the story that goes behind the scenes. So, can you just tell us about the challenges you experienced while taking those pictures?
Okay, so I think maybe one thing to mention is that in Nigeria and in Africa, this is something that is, although all these events and all the landscapes, we've had them for, I mean, over 100 years, and we've had them from the beginning of time. But with the aspect of telling the Nigerian story, is just something that has become very popular. I mean, recently, you get people are wanting to go to festivals to document festivals, to be able to tell cultural stories but that was not necessarily the case before. So due to that aspect of it being a new terrain that people are entering, and I mean, I was one of the first people to actually start it because it's something I just really felt that Nigeria needs to be put on the spotlight. So one of the major challenges I face is number one, financing it. You get, so one thing that people don't know is that 99.5% of my work that I see on my page and everything is actually self-financed. It's not because I don't necessarily want to get paid for it. It's just that there is really no market for that in the Nigerian space. So that's why people did not necessarily want to do it in the past. You get, there was never any market for it. People were not paid to actually travel to their village to snap pictures of the landscape or anything. People didn't really see the importance of that. So that's one of the challenges, financing. And I think another challenge is security and logistics.
Okay.
So especially in Nigeria and also some parts of Africa, but especially in Nigeria, the security challenges, I mean, there's a lot. So it actually limits you to what you can do and what you can't do. So for me, one thing about me is I try my best not to do any road travel because of the security issues in some parts of the country, not necessarily every part, just about 5% of the country. So whenever I'm traveling to those places, I don't use any road. I don't use the road. I just make sure I use the fastest means possible, which is an airline. Then maybe once I get to the States, I can end up using like the road or anything. But I think the second challenge, security and logistics, then also maybe the last one is getting people support. You get, so in terms of nobody really saw the importance of all this. So back in the days when I started, I mean, the comments I was getting were not necessarily, oh, this is beautiful. I mean, I was getting some of them, but people were saying that, oh, they should not kidnap you and stuff like that. But I think maybe one peculiar thing and one nice thing about my work is that it has opened people's eyes to actually see the beauty that we have in Nigeria, and also open people's eyes to see that, oh, you can actually travel to all these places and you can actually go there without having any issues or without any hassles or without any security challenges. So back in the day, if you were to tell the average Nigerian that you're traveling to the northern part of Nigeria, I mean, the first thing you hear is prayer. Exactly. I mean, they'll say, oh, God go with you, please be safe. I mean, there's been a lot of bombings, killings and stuff, but until recently that people have started seeing that, oh, people actually go to Kano State, Borno State, Bauchi, and people actually want to replicate that, and they've been able to replicate it without any issues, and they've seen that there is really no security challenge as it is portrayed in the media.
So you've spoken a lot about different challenges that you've had to face. Let's just take a focus on one of your projects that has actually had these challenges, and how did you navigate it and get through that particular scenario?
Okay, so I think maybe first thing I'll say is, I mean, I've done a couple of projects that have been very challenging, but maybe one of them that stands out is the one I've done in Kano State. It was for an international client. It was to do a travel film which I titled Journey to the North, and I was to travel to Kano and a couple of northern states. So one of the challenging things was, the security situation. It was quite limiting because I wasn't able to cover every single place that I had jotted down. But I actually just went to the places that were close to me and the places that I could go to safely. And in terms of the places that I hadn't been before and I thought they were not safe, I actually did my research. I called people and I ensured I went with people that actually know these places. So it's one thing for you to go to somewhere on your own. It's another thing to go to somewhere with someone that is from that place. So it's a lot easier. The person knows the terrain, the person knows the people. So it's a lot easier and safer. So that's pretty much one of the things that I do that helps my travel. I go with people that actually know the terrain, or I meet people there that actually know the terrain and they can take me around. The journey to the north, right? So one thing is, aside from the security challenge, these videos, they don't take days to shoot, they take weeks, because once you select a location, you have to travel there at a good enough hour, get like perfect lighting, and also sometimes I have to climb like hills that are like really, 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 really high, and it can take, let me say, 30 minutes to 1 hour. So one secret is I don't exercise outside work. So my work is the exercise. So there's a lot of exercise when it comes to traveling to all these places, walking to all these places, and also there's also the language barrier. So a lot of the places we go to, I don't speak like Hausa, but I mean I interact with a lot of Hausa people, so I've learned a little of these words, right? So yeah. So I think maybe one way I overcome the language barrier is just traveling with someone that knows the language and someone that is from there.
So
So
has
it's
there been a point where you had like a particular place you wanted to shoot, but you didn't get access to that place, maybe due
yeah.
to some reason or whatever?
Yeah, so I think, like I mentioned earlier, so the travel space is new in, even though it has been happening, but it's becoming more popular in Nigeria. So a lot of people aren't really open when they see a camera. So if you go to some parts of northern Nigeria, if you bring out a camera, they start to run. Not because
Yes.
of just because they don't know what it is, but I mean, if you take it to, let's say, Lagos now, or take it to like Lekki, I mean, people will be like, oh yes, they want you to snap them and stuff. But I think that's just that's one of the challenges. So being able to document in all these places, and also being able to get people's genuine interaction.
You know, your stories are very exceptional. So I want to know, like, what inspires you when you're telling these stories? Like the patterns, the flow, the way you tell the stories. What inspires you to tell them like that?
I don't necessarily have a particular direction anytime I'm traveling somewhere. So one thing I ensure is that whenever I travel to a state, somewhere new, or document a festival that is new. So let's take for instance the Ojude Festival. I did not say, oh, this is how I wanted them, this is how I wanted to capture it, or this is how I wanted them to dance. I actually went there to be able to see what is going on there, and also ensure that the stories that I'm telling through my lens is exactly what I'm seeing and is exactly what I'm telling. So there are a lot of times you can go to somewhere and you see, let's say, pictures or videos from that event, and you start to ask questions that, this one is not, I was here now, it didn't really look like this. So I just make sure that I try and depict like the events or the places I go to in the best way possible. Some things I can say stand out when in my stories is number one, I think I show the resilience of the Nigerian people, and I also show change, and I also show the beauty and the culture and the love for the culture in Nigeria.
You know, definitely in your line of field, you've had some sacrifices that you've had to make now to get to where you are now. Can you tell us some of the sacrifices you've made to get there?
Firstly, financially. So 99% of the work I do, like I mentioned, is financed by myself. 99% of what I post online is financed by myself. So the challenges and the issues I've had to face, finance. I think also being away from home. So some people ask me, where am I based? Now I just tell them I'm based in Nigeria because I'm always traveling around. So it's pretty hard to be able to travel, and also it takes a toll on your health and everything, to be honest, because traveling on a long run is not easy. So a lot of the times I might just not post on social media for a long while, not because I'm tired of social media or anything, but just because I think Davido calls it recovery. Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
like the recovery phase, man. So
Take a
it's not
break.
easy at all.
So speaking about your photography journey, I mean, you've done videos for Davido and some other artists. So tell me, how does it feel like getting that call, like, oh, I need to be on this shot, I need to be on this shoot, and all that? And tell us the experience, the challenges you had to go through, and all that.
So I think one of the major works that I've done, I've shot a music video for Pato Rankin. Um, I got the call. I can't
Can you tell us the
remember.
particular music video?
I think Open Fire Remix.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so
okay.
it was like almost 2 years ago. But in terms of like the dots connecting, what I actually like to start with is you can't really connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So a
Yeah.
lot of the time now we can be thinking of what's going to happen in my future, what's going to happen in the future. I mean, and you can't really picture it, but it's only until it happens that you can now say, oh, this happened and this happened for so and so reason. So for me, I think maybe what I'll say is how I felt. I mean, sometimes I'm surprised, but some of the times I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's expected, yeah, because of the hard work I've
Expected,
put,
of
right?
course, yes.
But yeah, but I think maybe I'll say pretty much I'm actually surprised most of the time. And a lot of people actually reach out to me that they want to work with me, but I think because of the nature of my job, which is traveling to places that people aren't, so it's really, really hard to keep up with the aspect of like the shooting with people. Yeah.
Purely out of curiosity, let's just know, is there any like major collaboration coming on that you're so excited about currently?
I don't know if I can
If
mention, but
if Sam
there
Ibo
are a
wants to
few,
let
and
us
there are a
know.
few. So I mean, I'm doing a couple of uh, not clients, right? So I'm doing something with MTN. It will come out soon.
MTN.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I'm doing Oh, who else am I collabing with? I mean, there's a couple, right? So I can't really mention everything, but you see.
From the African scene and moving around Africa and all that to going to the international space. So how have you been able to transcend into that journey to the international world?
Firstly, I actually started, I dreamt big, but I started small. Yeah, so I started within like my community in Abuja, then I started to travel Nigeria, then I started to get international calls and requests to come to some certain countries. But they didn't do all of that because I was sitting in my room or doing anything. It was because I actually just got the job done. So irrespective of whatever you're doing, whether it is something small or something medium, just ensure you do it very well and the big things will come. So for me, the international space has been really good. It's nothing too different from what I'm doing in Nigeria because it's the same thing I'm doing, same cameras I'm using. It's just a different terrain. You get so that's pretty much it. So just travel, just work, do the small work first, then the bigger jobs will come.
Okay, and as a young entrepreneur, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs that want to go into this line of work?
First thing I'll say is you should have passion for what you're doing. There's a quote that says, do what you love and you should love what you do. So that's the first thing. So ensure it is something that you love that you are doing. In terms of the three things I'll say is, firstly, I'll say be consistent. So be consistent in whatever you're doing, be it any trade or any field you find yourself in. Just be consistent. So consistency helps you to build perfection and it helps you to get experience in that job. And also be collaborative. So work with other people in that space, learn from them. So don't be afraid to meet new people as well. And I think the last one is you should be creative as well. Try as much as possible to reinvent the wheel. Don't necessarily do things in the way that other people are doing it. Because if you do something differently, that's what really helps your work to grow, and that's what really helps your work to stand out as well. So you can be in the same room as somebody. Let me use my field for instance, taking pictures. So two people can be in the same field, but they'll take different pictures. And yeah, so just try as much as possible to be creative and just do something from a new perspective.
Speaking of creativity, so how do you stay creative?
One of the ways I'm inspired, right, is I always think. So I just try and say, oh, okay, this has been done this way. Let me just try and do this differently so that people can see it from a new angle. Yeah.
Okay, so this is like a very final question, but you said something about looking at what people have done. So do you have a mentor in the particular field? Do you have a mentor that you look up to?
So I have a mentor, and I've actually worked under him. He's actually currently working in Lagos now. He's the governor's photographer, and his name is Ademola Olaniran. So he's someone I actually worked under, and he helped me to be able to build confidence with carrying the camera. And he's been my mentor so far, and he's really, really helped me in my journey.
So how do you see the future of media in the next 5 years?
So I think it's going to be an interesting one. So I think that in the next 5 years, almost everybody will know how to use a camera. So I think the future of media in Nigeria is going to be an interesting one. In terms of the regular phone reels and camera videos that we're doing, is going to be very, very popular. And I think one thing that will make somebody stand out is just being able to put things out quickly. A lot of people are going into the media space, and there's only so much we can capture.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It was fun having you here.
Thank you. My name is Niyi Fagbemi. I'm a travel and documentary filmmaker, and we are here on African Entrepreneur, and I can't wait for you guys to watch this episode. Peace.